Hello everyone, I'm back again. I'm Purnima from Bangalore. Today I will not waste much time in giving you a long drawn introduction to the poem, but the title of the poem itself is self explanatory. The title of the poem, which I'm going to do today, is The Heart of a Tree by Cuyler Bunner. And the heart of a tree, we all know how beautiful the tree is and how noble its heart is. And right from the beginning, the poet has asked us a question at the beginning of each stanza, and the answer also he has given them himself. I'm sure all of us, the moment we hear the question, we will come up with various different answers. And the question which he throws at us and puts it at us is, what does he plant who plants a tree? And he starts each stanza with a refrain. He keeps repeating it and keeps giving answers himself. What does he plant who plants a tree? He plants a friend to sun and sky. And that's quite a unique and different answer. When the tree goes tall and big and almost reaches the sky, it makes the tree a friend to sun and sky. And it becomes the plant of the breeze. Because if the tree does not grow big and tall, we hardly get any cool breeze. He plants the plant of breezes free, the shaft of beauty. It's a tower of beauty. It's such a beautiful sight to see. I'm sure no sight must be more beautiful than seeing a beautiful, tall, big, huge tree. He plants the flag of Jesus' free, the shaft of beauty towering high. And as he plants this tree, and it was big and tall and huge, he plants a home. For whom? Not for mankind, but for the birds to build their nest and to sing and croon to their little ones. He plants a home to heaven and I. To heaven and I? Near heaven. In hushed and happy twilight heard. And what do we hear in the evening? In the twilight and thus in the evening, the sound of the birds chirping, which we do not find in the cities. What do we find in the city? The moment we step out of our house, we only hear the horns honking, the traffic moving, and lot of pollution and dust. But in the atmosphere where the tree stands tall and huge, we find the sound of the birds chirping. For song and mother croon of bird, in hushed and happy twilight heard, the treble of heaven's harmony. And it's so harmonious, it's so peaceful and quiet and calm. And in the midst of all this, we hear the birds chirping. And that is what he plants, who plants a tree. He doesn't plant it for himself, he plants it for nature, for birds to sing, for birds to build their nest and make a friend to heaven and sky. These things he plants who plants a tree. And again, at the beginning of the second stanza, again he asks, what does he plant who plants a tree? And here, the normal functions of a tree. He plants cool shade and tender rain. And that is why in the cities we hardly have any rain, because all the trees have been cut. We keep saying worship God, but at the same time we keep destroying nature, and nature is God. And plants cool shade and tender rain, and seed and bud of days to be. And as he plants the trees and the seeds and buds fall, they give rise to more and more trees in the future. And in time, in due course, it turns into a forest. And who is there to see this forest? It's the younger generation, for children yet to be born. It's a joy, beauty to see such things growing. And seed and bud of days to be. And years that fade and blush again. And what do the years fade? How do the years fade? By seeing the leaves shed. Each season has been demarcated. If we see the color of the leaves, each season has been demarcated. And that is how the years fade. Autumn comes, and again winters, and spring comes with the blooming of leaves and branches. He plants the glory of the plain, and the plains would look so deserted and bare and barren if there were no trees. He plants the glory, and a nation is known by its natural resources, by the trees, by the natural surroundings, by the wildlife sanctuaries. And years that fade and flush again, he plants the glory of the plain. He plants the forest heritage. And Indian culture, especially in our country, it is the culture of our country to have forests. And because of deforestation, now all these forests are also slowly becoming extinct and are being destroyed. He plants the forest heritage, the harvest of a coming age. And who's going to see these forests? The man who plants a tree is planting it for the coming generation, for the good of the future, for the civic good, for the good of society. He plants the forest heritage. And way back in the 1970s, all of us have heard of the Chukka movement, when the women, the peasant women of the forest region, would come out in protest of cutting the trees. They would hug the trees and challenge the men who would come to cut the trees to kill them first and then cut the trees. And why would they do that? Because the trees gave them wood, fodder for their cattle and fuel for their herd. And they would sing in chorus, as we have heard in Pradana Shiva's essay. Everything I learned from the forest. And what were the women? The peasant women sing in chorus. These oaks, these rhododendrons, keep them alive. Do not cut them. They give us food, water, and pure air. And that is what trees bear. And years that fade and flush again. He plants the glory of the tree. And as the trees grow, one after the other, it almost becomes a forest for the future generation. And that is the glory of the plains, the glory of our nation. He plants the forest heritage, and that is a heritage, that is the culture of our country. The harvest of a coming age, that joy that unborn eyes should see. And which are the eyes? The children, the coming generation. And that is why the man who plants a tree plants for the future generation and not for himself. These things he plants who plants a tree. And again, at the beginning of the third stanza, what does he plant who plants a tree? He plants in sap and leaf and wood. And the things we get from the tree, the sap, the leaves and wood, in love of home and loyalty. And not because of himself, he is loyal to the nation, he is loyal to mankind. And that is why he plants in sap and leaf and wood, he plants the tree. And Pope has thought of civic good, and he sees for the future, he sees the good of society. Can imagine our neighborhood, but it's full of trees. That is what the man who does, who plants a tree. And Pope has thought of civic good, his blessing on the neighborhood. And that is how our neighborhood is blessed. The growth of our nation takes place from sea to sea. And that is what identifies the growth of a nation. Whom in the hollow of his hand, when he takes the sapling, the plant in the hollow of his hand, the love of his nation stirs in his heart. I'm sure any of us who goes to plant a tree will have that love stirring in our hearts, not for ourselves, but for mankind, for the future generation are going to benefit by these trees. Holds all the growth of all our land. And that is how the nation is identified. And that is what leads to the growth of a nation. A nation's growth from sea to sea stirs in his heart who plants a tree. And what stirs? The noble heart of the man who plants a tree. And that is why once in our lifetime, I'm sure all of us should plant a tree. And the love of the nation, the love of our neighborhood, the love of the coming generation would automatically stir in our hearts when we go out to plant a tree. And he stirs the small sapling which he takes in the hollow of his hand. And these are the things he plants a tree. And therefore, the answers given by the poet himself to the question, what does he plant who plants a tree, are innumerable. And not only for the good of mankind, for good of the nature, for good of the nation. And that is what he plants who plants a tree. And there are a number of questions which can be answered. I'm sure all of us who are listening to this poem will have a number of questions to which answers have been given by the poet. And in conclusion, I would say that sure once in a lifetime, all of us should reach out to nature and plant a tree for the love of mankind, for the love of future, for the love of the coming generation. So it's a beautiful poem regarding nature and the use of trees, how helpful and how useful they are, not only to us, but in general to the entire nation. And the growth of the nation lies in the nature, the natural surroundings, the natural resources which we all have. And I'll end now with this poem. So many other poems by the same poet. Definitely try and pick out some which you all will find quite interesting and enjoyable. So I'll see you again sometime next week. Bye for now.